Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, one of the fastest growing real estate investing podcasts in the world. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors? Find out what got them to where they are now. Get insight into their daily habits and take these insights to inspire your own growth. Each episode, Jonathan Greene shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor and the founder of Streamline, a data-driven, investor-friendly, independent real estate brokerage located in Madison, New Jersey. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, this is the free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Welcome back to another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. My guest today is Joel Kraut. He's the managing director and co-founder of BRRRR Loans. They are less about loans, more about people, which you know syncs with what I believe. At BRRRR Loans, they believe that building relationships and connections are essential to a successful portfolio. We talk all about it right now. This is episode 308 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Joel Kraut. Joel is the co-founder and managing director of BRRRR Loans, and he brings decades of proven experience in real estate investing, private lending, and financial coaching to help individuals break free from traditional financial limitations and build lasting wealth. Joel, welcome to the show.
Jonathan, thank you very much for having me on. It was fun talking you off screen, so I can imagine it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I always tell people we kind of got to have to stop off screen so we don't get have a great moment that gets missed. But yeah, I'm excited to have you on. This is back-to-back New Yorker show. We just had another New Yorker show. You grew up in Queens, I grew up in Brooklyn, so we'll have to put the people through that. I wanted to start with an interesting question for you because I know you've done so much in terms of financial education. What do you think of the FIRE movement before we get to your background and how it all started? Because I look at it of course, there's a lot of good things about financially independent, retire early, but I feel like it's almost like a meme at this point, and I'm not sure it's real. What do you think?
I absolutely agree with you. I really do. I travel around, so do you. You get in front of groups, you're on platforms, you're listening, you're talking, and it's like, what's the acronym of the month, right?
Yeah.
And people are, in my humble opinion, people need to just step back from that for a moment and really try to do a good job of slowing things down for themselves. So they give themselves a much better chance to actually achieve that.
Yeah.
Instead of starting in the deep end and feeling like they either missed out or they didn't get it or it bypassed them, because that's not true. But you have to slow down a little bit. And there's a reason we all started to learn from the beginning of something, right? But that seems to keep changing at light warp speed with the internet, technology. But the fact is, if you put the building blocks in place, you can take yourself to unbelievable places. And, that's one of the things I think I'm okay at, and just helping people slow things down. I always like to joke with them and make them feel more comfortable. Like, you don't get this pretty without taking a few punches, and you're still standing here 30 years later, right? So you've had a lot of ups and downs, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're no good, but you need to pay attention to the details and then go execute. And if you do that, we can help you. Together, we can do something. It can be a great journey. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when we're talking about building a foundation and the frameworks for investing, FIRE kind of it's too fast, because it's retire early. But there's kids who are 21 who are just working their first job who are oh, FIRE movement. I'm like, how are you going to build a runway? You can't think startup. Not everyone's going to be a startup founder. It just doesn't work like that. Where are you getting the money for this? You can't, do sub 2 and creative finance and then create a $2 million empire by the time you're 22 with no, business acumen. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I feel like you could on Instagram.
TikTok, you could do it every single day. Yeah. You just be a creator.
All right. 22 years old, you're good to go.
Yeah.
But the reality is, even in our office, we have a lot of the young people in their mid-20s, and they're closing loans. They're starting to buy investment properties. We're torturing them to put some money into 401ks.
Yeah.
Torturing them to put some money into real estate investment funds and or just an investment fund in the market. Really simple stuff like Vanguard, the total index fund, just simple things so that they have some of these building blocks and they can start to then expand off. People bombard you with this just like plethora of different opportunities. Like, I'm not really ready for tokenization and some of the different things that go along. I get that I have to keep learning all the time, and that's important. But sometimes, again, just slowing it down and making the 25-year-olds start to do that so they can wake up at 35 and be deep down the road to their FIRE movement, right? But
Right.
that's a 10-year process, 8-year process. But think about how young they still are.
I know. We're old. I'm like counting my age, and I'm like, oh man, this like I feel young, but comparatively, I have kids in their 20s, so it's like, okay, they have to find their way. I just think it's like my dad always told me don't rush life, so he was like a big proponent of just not going too fast. So like we're in complete alignment on this, and I think the same. I'm always trying to tell people like, what are you in a rush for? Like you're rushing with the only money you have. That seems like a bad idea. And then like you're talking about, diversification of assets. It's a great idea. I don't know why it's literally in every investing book ever to make sure that you're diversified. So if one market collapses, you don't lose everything.
People get sucked into all these convoluted ideas, right? I know it sounds sexy. You feel like you're missing out if something explodes to the upside.
Right.
And there's so many different coins out there. I don't even know which coin I'm supposed to buy, what they stand for, right? So for me, like I try to stick to what I understand. And like this concept of multiple streams of income and you have to have them, like you need to find a core competency that you become great at.
Yeah.
And then you could build some streams off of that. Then it makes sense. I get it. But you start going in 8 different directions, you're just going to do 8 things like half-assed.
Yeah, I think it's much smarter for younger people or for people who are like, embarking on a new career to try out as much as possible until they find something that works. And while you're doing it, make sure that you're just doing something. If you don't love it, okay. I mean, I don't know. There's tons of us who loved all of our, first few jobs, but like that's you just do the job because it pays you money, and that's a trade-off. And you can clock in and clock out, and then 5 to 8 at night, you can be doing real estate investing stuff. I mean,
well, I think for a lot of the people that we work with, that is exactly what they're doing. Our phones get busier from 4 to 8 p.m. Eastern time as people are coming off their main jobs and
right, yeah,
careers, right? So I tell the LOs, go to the gym at 9 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, eat breakfast, read something.
Right. They're not coming till that 4 o'clock window. Yeah, it makes sense.
He's like desperate to talk to you, except for people absolutely deep in the closing process at 10 a.m. The other people, you're bothering them at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But if you catch them at 4:30, 5:30 Eastern time, or the equivalent across, now you can have a good conversation that could lead them and you someplace.
Yeah.
So you have to be sensitive to that and think about how to plan your day professionally. And that's part of what we're teaching people, just to start to tap in and understand that, right? Because in school, if you went to college, they didn't really spend that much time on that and beginning to understand how you have the baby steps of building your book of business. So we're trying to help them with that.
Yeah, I think education really misses mindset altogether. I mean, standardized education. That's this podcast was created about the mindful approach to real estate investing as a reverse educational principle, because I look at it like if you can't build that part and do obviously things smarter, more efficient, you're just going to be banging your head against the wall. Or you could spend 20 years doing the work that you could have done in 7.5, and then you could have had that side hustle, right?
I mean, for me, you just hit on something that's really been a game changer for me the last few years. I finally read that book, the who, not the how.
Yeah.
And I was mad. I was so mad at my own education because for decades I'd been taught, like, if you want to make more money, just go work more hours or find a second job. It's like, this doesn't work in today's world.
Well, I mean, we didn't have virtual assistants, back in the 80s.
Right. But more importantly, for me personally, I spend so much time deep inside my own job. I never learned, because I didn't pay enough attention to it or understand the value of it, how to go build systems that I could then scale.
Yeah.
It took me much later, like only the last honest decade, maybe slightly more, around 2014 to now, that I really started to plug into that. Well, I missed like 20 years prior. Yeah. That could have been game changer for me. Instead of trying to manage 100 properties myself, I might have figured it out and gotten it right with some help from some other people who were good at that, while I was good at finding deals and putting them together structurally, financially. but I wasn't great at always picking the right tenant or dealing with them, right? That wasn't my strength. That wasn't my sweet spot. It wasn't what made me feel good, but I had to
Yeah.
do it because I didn't know any better. So I
Yeah.
always got frustrated with that.
Do you think for you, I know for myself and for a lot of other people, it's like it's partly an ego thing because you're doing everything. And you're like, oh, someone's not going to be able to do this, and then you realize you're working like 90 hours a week, and you just don't want to outsource it. I remember, 15 years ago, I read a book. Obviously, this is very common now, but it says if somebody can do something even 80% as good as you can do it, then you have all that time free to go do the things that you're like you said, the best at, your zone of genius. It just starts to make sense. And that book, of course, made really complete sense. Who, not how, because I was looking at it. And like I've tied to stuff because of my ego, like, oh, there's some stuff that I still do because I want the control, but I released a lot of the other stuff that, in my opinion, just doesn't matter as much or doesn't have to be me. Same for you?
I think that's incredibly spot on.
Okay.
And it took a while, one, to acknowledge it so that I can start to let go.
Yeah.
Right? Because that was a big fight for me internally.
Me too.
When I started to realize that, look, other people are competent too. Look, that's in my own head.
Yeah.
And if you spend some time to help them, you're freeing up tremendous time for yourself. But yes, that first month or two when you're getting them 80% of the way there, yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But if you never do it, you just never do it and you're still stuck, right?
Yeah, it's like that Momentum, cartoon where the guy's pushing a ball up to the top of the mountain and just stops like 1 inch before the top. And that's what it is when you're training someone to do the things that you don't want to do. Yeah, you really hate it. It is annoying just because you have to keep repeating yourself, and then you keep thinking, I could just do this myself. But if you just finish off the task, then you end up with so much free time. It's actually unbelievable.
And I was reading these books, and they kept telling me to do it. And then I'd get to the next book, and they kept telling me to do it. Well, after a while, I figured there must be a real reason.
Somebody's onto something. Yeah. Yeah.
But after 4 or 5 of them, I finally started to figure that out.
Yeah.
God. But instead of just spending like $19 for nothing.
Yeah.
But I started to take heed of those lessons, and it has helped me tremendously to enable me to do more of what I actually like. Right.
Yeah.
It helped me eventually make more money doing it. So that was my fear. That was honestly my fear of what to get over and get through. And it took a while. That's the truth. Anyone who says differently, I think, is just lying.
Yeah.
Or they're 23 years old, and that's what they've been trained from day one, which is good. I don't think that's a bad thing just because I'm an older guy. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
well, it's not, I mean, you're still successful. It's like we're adding new layers on even as we get older. And it's like, okay, yeah, I do wish I learned some of these lessons as you said earlier, but hey, I learned it now. That's better than not learning it at all. So
100%. But we tell people, let's say you're in front of a group of 100 people, and there's always people in the audience. You could almost feel them thinking, man, I wish I could make the same amount of money as him, or, I wish I was in his position. I don't want them to think that way. I don't want them to necessarily be like jump all the way to Grant Cardone mentality.
Right.
Or somewhere in between. So you're beginning to think about, okay, if I could build processes, if I could build systems, and then exactly what we're talking about here, if I could teach 4 people how to do X, Y, and Z within my business, I can really expand my business.
Yeah.
And take 2 weeks vacation and not have a heart attack. Or go do something during the week that's really enjoyable with my kids at a school, or maybe go on God forbid, the one time you went on the school trip and you were the monitor, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's called.
Oh man, I did those a lot. But I did those at the time because I had my schedule set up in a way where my businesses were only open on days where I didn't have my kids or they didn't have stuff at school. And, those are choices, but yeah, I mean, I think you're making a lot of great points. At least we're learning it now. And these resources are out there for people, younger, older, anywhere on the cycle to take it and put it into their business.
Well, I think one of the things that we always have to be conscious of is you're speaking in front of a group. There's 20 somethings, 30 to 40 somethings, but there are also 60 somethings.
Yeah.
And it's not too late for the 60 somethings. So part of my responsibility is to help them understand that quickly so that we can be on the right track, stay focused, not spend the woe is me time, because we don't have enough window to do that anymore, right? We have to pay attention. Things are moving quick. What can we really focus on that we like, enjoy, makes us feel something inside? And let's focus there in the last 20, 30 years of our lives so that we can be productive, we can feel good about it, and we can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Only getting that one shot. So
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the start. When was the first time that you had contact with real estate where you thought, this might be something in my life?
Well, I'll tell you, in 1996, I bought my first investment property. It was a really simple condo. And the agent that sold me my first primary residence in New Jersey sold it to me. She must have had a deal that fallen apart on her. She probably already had the 6% mentally spent in the family budget.
Yeah.
She knew what I did. I was a trader on Wall Street at the time. So she'd seen my finances. They weren't so special. I don't mean it that way, everybody. But,
She knew you could get it. Yeah.
Yeah, she knew I had the ability to go buy the condo with her and she could close quick. So I did that. She managed everything for me. So, hey, this is like the simplest business I've ever been in, right? About a year later, this young lady comes to me and says, Mr. Kraut, my name's Maria, and I'm a residential mortgage rep. So, okay. How can I help you? Because I didn't understand what she was here to see me. What she had done, which I think even to this day is ingenious, she had gone through the county records and seen all the recorded mortgages. And if a guy like me or a woman like her owned multiple, she would come approach you in month 10 of origination. Because back then in month 12 in a day, you can go to full market value on a refi. I didn't even
understand. Way ahead of her time.
Yeah, I didn't even understand the concept.
Yeah.
So she's in my office. I think you bought the property really very well. I'm like, what? How could you even know?
Right? I mean, it is New Jersey even then. We just appreciate.
I was just starting. I didn't realize all the mortgages were even recorded public instruments, right? I wasn't doing that way. I was a regular guy just doing something. So she explained to me. I get my friend Mindy on the phone. I said, Mindy, it's Joel. I got to ask you this question. There's this young lady talking to me, and I just feel like this is just too simple. We're going to refinance this property. We're going to get all our money back and then some. I'm still going to own it. I'm going to get the cash flow, and Mindy's still taking care of it for me. Like, it can't be that easy, right? I'm a Wall Street guy. This is like, if you could do this, why wouldn't we do as much as we can? So I'll tell you, we went on and did 22 mortgages with Maria in the next 2 years. I thought she was genius. Yeah. So we had myself, my ex-wife, who had a different last name. Look, back then, I'm not telling you can do that now to the audience.
Yeah.
Back then, the reporting systems weren't as good. Obviously, right now, if your spouse has a different last name, they can still link you pretty easily.
Yeah.
Realize that it doesn't count. Then we had another friend who bought 3 in his name, and we did it. So we basically bought and refied 11 properties in about, 18, 16 months, something like that. So she killed it. She made all this commission. I have no idea how much they paid her at Countrywide, but it was amazing. It was like she'd show up with this Countrywide playbook of 100 different mortgage options, and if he couldn't make one fit, she'd just say, well, tell my boss what you really want, and we'll see if we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. And they did. It was crazy. So,
well, I mean, that's a real estate investing relationships 101. It's like you lock in with the person who does the best job for you, you stick with them until it doesn't work, and if it keeps working, you just keep running the same playbook.
I feel like one of the biggest mistakes people make in real estate, even to today, is they actually believe it's about real estate.
Yeah. Oh, I agree completely. Yeah.
They don't spend enough time nurturing those types of relationships, as you just mentioned, because that's really the magic.
Yeah. Anybody from who's a large scale investor or have been doing it 20, 30 years will always tell you that all of their best deals, they didn't come from the MLS or some wholesale deal. It came from somebody who they knew, that they built a relationship with, and they weren't even expecting it. Usually it's just like the person's like, hey, Joel, just like that agent. She's like, hey, I know you're good for it. And were you even thinking like, hey, I should be a real estate investor before you bought that? Yeah. But you had the money and she was reliable. It just seemed like a good deal.
I'd been reading books while I commuted. All the books were about rich families.
Yeah. They all are real estate.
Real estate, right? I'm like, this is kind of coming together. Light bulb goes off and boom, you do it. It was literally a $72,000 or $74,000 purchase. And I got a mortgage of 80%. So I didn't have that much risk in the grand scheme of things. And so it just seemed to make sense. And if I was ever going to be like Mike, I had to start on the journey. And that's really how it came together. I was fortunate that, just like we tell people today, find a problem, solve a problem, present a solution where both people can feel pretty good about the victory, and you're on your way. And that's what happened. She had a problem and I solved it.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'd never even seen the property.
Is this kind of trajectory of how this happened? Is this what got you into lending eventually?
Well, I was rehabbing a house in Newark, New Jersey. And, Newark back then, it didn't look like me, let's just say.
I'm nearby, so
Okay.
I'm familiar. And just for like Newark is a very interesting place. There's 17 zip codes just in Newark. So it's like people don't realize how big it is and how like different each area can be.
It's very diverse now.
Yeah.
A lot of people have come in from a lot of different areas as prices skyrocketed around the area. But so I'm rehabbing a house. Guy comes over to me. He says, I don't understand. What are you talking about? So, well, you're doing 2 houses on 1 block. Where the hell are you getting the money? Like, that's too much money. So I started to explain to him, well, my real background, I worked on Wall Street and I had a little, but I also had friends who wanted to lend money and make money on it. And they trusted me. It's like, well, could you help me? So we made a loan at 14 and 4 to him.
Oh,
14% interest and 4 points. Because back in that day, that was the norm, by the way.
Yeah.
It was not.
Well, because regular interest rates were higher than anyway. Yeah. So 14 and 4, when interest rates are 3.5, still 14 and 4, honestly, for a first time flipper, it's not terrible. You can do better, but
it does happen.
Yeah.
Also, remember, when I'm talking about starting in the late 90s, there's infinitely less competition. The margins are a lot wider. 14 and 4 is a gift back then.
Yeah, right.
Now you need to be like 9 and 1, or you don't have enough room. But not competing.
Especially in New Jersey, it's like it's a terrible time.
When we would go to an auction back then, once I learned what they actually were, 8 people would show up. Off the record, you'd kind of divvy up the properties.
Exactly. Yeah, I grew up with my dad going to them, and I agree with that. And I think new people don't understand how it was. And I mean, the same people are still at auctions. Like, it's not a straightforward process. Everybody knows what's going on, and if you're the outsider, you're going to get bid up, right? You're going to be the dum-dum 100%. Where everybody's joking around like, oh, let's see how high we can get this guy.
We're going to get him high. We got to use his money up quick.
Exactly. Then he's out for the good properties. That's it. Great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I had a lot of experience in the auctions, and my dad would say, like, my dad wasn't the bid up guy, but he was watching very closely, and he knew who were the bidding them up. When the new person would walk in, and it was all of us who've been there, 13 auctions in a row, and you're like, oh boy, comes in like a suit, and everybody else is not. It's going to be a fun day.
You're standing behind a guy. Hey, did you ever think about that second mortgage? Did it get worked out properly, or those tax liens? What water bills? What?
Oh, I think 123 Main Street. I think that one's really good. Don't you think? You're like whispering nearby, like that one has the most potential. Yeah. So.
You're signaling the guy across the room. Okay, 2 down. We still got.
I think that people think that's
for today.
Yeah, that is the way it was, though. And I mean,
100%, yes.
Yeah. What did you learn about the properties, though, from auctions? Because it is hard. Like, you do have to take some lumps, as you said, from those, because a lot of them were no access. Especially then, there's no internet. You don't know what the upset value is. You're really like just shooting for hope.
Very different times, right? You would try your best to maybe see the property. Right? Maybe. And you'd have to quickly narrow down which ones you wanted to bid on, because you couldn't go see them all. If 40 are going up, you can only go look at 4, 5, 8 the most. So you had to really stay focused. And just what you're talking about, if there were people there that you felt were going to get in the way, not the actual home buyers, but other bidders, you had to do your best. John and I would get together, talk on the side, get rid of who XYZ as fast as possible. Let's bid them up and get rid of their money quick, so we could concentrate on the 8 we're really trying to buy here. You take 4, I'll take 4. Which ones do you want? Yeah, one's going to probably be not necessarily a bad clunker, but not good.
Yeah.
And as you got to do that more, you start to see who you were buying them from, and you would go to the asset manager, right? Direct. And
they were more accessible back then. There was a lot that you could get, even though it wasn't internet. You could talk to people. Like, you could call a lender and get the information. Now there's like 37 blocking layers and a moat before you can even talk to anyone. And if you talk to them, they could care less anyway, because they have 1,000 of them. At least now there's none, but they're doing other stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely different. But that doesn't mean people should give up on that process.
Yeah, I still think it's valid. I mean, it comes in waves, right? I mean, at some point, something's going to happen. People are not going to have the loans that they want. People are going to lose jobs. They're going to try to hold on. Companies maybe will keep them afloat for a while, but eventually, it's not like we're never going to have REOs again. I mean, they're just
I think,
not
I think
prevalent
we're
here.
starting to see that a little bit now. Not in huge waves, but
Yeah, I've seen a few more. Yeah,
enough to notice that there's a slight difference out there.
yeah,
One of the biggest issues, look, Pace is he's great, but those types of deals that I've done recently, people are not walking away from all that equity.
yeah.
They still want to check. So you have to be prepared for that. Now, you're going to get part of it. I'm not saying you're not. You definitely will. But we had one lady hold us up. The sheriff was coming like 12 hours. She still demanded her 10 grand extra. And we gave it to her, to be honest.
Yeah.
There was still enough meat there for us. And we're not trying to hurt anybody on purpose. Look, things happen in lives. You're not there to be the instigator. You're trying to facilitate. So we gave her the check. We moved on. We quickly rehabbed the house and sold it. But you have to be prepared, right? You have to think those strategies through. Which markets are they working in now? Because all the strategies kind of work. They've been around since the 70s in Nickerson. They've just been repackaged as sexy things we could sell.
Hey, it's Jonathan. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Joel Kraut. And if you want to get chilly and get those BRRRR loans, go to BRRRR. You have to know how to spell this. BRRRR.com. You didn't know Joel had it, but he does. BRRRR.com. You'll find out all about what they can do for you. Let's get back to Joel. I always say, I mean, like you were saying before about acronyms, like everyone was house hacking when they were younger. It just wasn't called that. It was just called doing things smart to make money. Like no one even thought, like my dad never called himself a real estate investor. He was an attorney. I was an attorney. I didn't go on my social media and say, hey, I'm a real estate investor because I didn't have a computer. There was no internet. But like when someone asked me what I did, I was an attorney, even though like that was my job.
Well, you said you grew up in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
Half of Brooklyn rented a room.
Yeah, of course.
So half of Brooklyn was a house hacker.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
you have to package the course and resell it somewhere. Carlton Sheets or something, right? But
yeah, I mean, across now, you're episode 308. I mean, I just know like so many of these conversations, people are like, oh yeah, I had an extra room in my basement, so I rented it out. They just figured out what to do. I grew up on the weekends with my dad in Westchester, and we always had tenants. I lived in an ADU from the time I was 13 on, because my dad always bought houses with that. Like we were doing all this stuff before it was called anything.
Right.
Just another house he built over the garage.
It was the extra room, right?
Yeah. And there was a door in Bedford once. There was just a door and I never knew where it went. And he's like, you can't go in there. And then the door swung open once. I was probably like 10 and like a good looking, like probably like college age girl came. I was like, oh, what the, I was like, who's that? I was like, do we have a new nanny? He's like, no, that's our tenant. I'm like, what are you talking about? I knew tenants because we owned rental properties, but I was like, we have a tenant in the house. Like, and she goes into because she shared a kitchen. She was just like, I wasn't there I was only there on weekends and she was usually like partying or something. So it was just like a real thing. But the strategies are the same. They're just pre-packaged and new packaged, like you said, and now they're socialized so they look like something flashier. But we've all been doing that stuff. Everybody was.
I mean, sometimes you see some of the old textbooks, right? And they're so dog-eared, but you start flipping through them. You're like, wait a minute.
Good stuff.
Wait a minute. Like, you know what? That's still relevant. We still do that.
You can still go walking for dollars right now, and you could still do well, because I think nobody else is doing it. They're all cruising on Google in another state, 2 years behind, and it's a different thing. It's just different.
I also feel like when you do that, the more you get people to get direct to the seller, the bigger the margins are, right?
Of course.
Instead of just complaining about the wholesaler eating up the whole deal. Well, go do the legwork they're doing.
Right. Do you want to be in a room with 8 wholesalers and you? Like, how's that going to deal? Or do you want to be the first one to get to John Smith because you looked and you saw that John Smith lives in California and he owns one property in New Jersey and nobody else knows that. And of course he doesn't want the property. He doesn't have a relative in it and it's ramshackle on the outside. So
it seems ridiculous to this day because of technology. But in Alabama, giving it away, but it doesn't matter. we still send out postcards.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
did 2 deals off of postcards in a year. We did okay on those deals. One was pretty good and one was okay. But I don't know, it paid for 10 years worth of postcards.
Yeah. Right.
It still works.
I
And
agree.
I feel like people want everything to be so esoteric and so convoluted. Just slow down and keep it simple, and you'd be shocked. If you do it consistently, you can make money.
Yeah. And how about approach people and just be honest? Like there's all the courses trying to like trick someone into some funny creative finance. Why don't you just tell them what you want? Hey, I've never invested in a property. I'm trying to get my first one. And I only know this area. So I'm just looking to meet people who, look, the truth is I ran your numbers. I saw you were over 60 and I saw you have, your house is paid off. So I did what other people do. I think that's a great intro. Honesty is going to win every time. You'll get some FUs, but that's, when you're doing calls or knocks, that's what you get. That's part of the fun of it.
A friend of mine always says to me, look, Joel, it's not that they don't like you. It didn't work for them. Don't worry about that. But to your point, if you are not honest and you have to think about the story you told,
oh, great point. Yeah.
You're going to blow up and blow any chance you have for a deal. It's amazing how easy it is to remember the truth all the time.
Yeah, love it.
Stressed out, right?
Yeah.
You're stressed out. Like, I've never done a deal before, Jonathan. I'm at the table for the first time. I'm getting nervous. I can feel my own shoulders coming in. I'm not exactly sure what to say. So I'm just going to go with the truth because that's the only thing I know what it is all the time. To your point, you should always do that.
Yeah. It's a great point. And I think it makes your, quote script a lot easier. What should I say? I don't know. Just meet the person, be a human being, talk to them, especially when you're doing loans, correct me if I'm wrong. Like a lot of the loan process is like, you really have to know the individuals to make sure that you're not end up stuck with a bad loan at some point. Cause no loan company wants bad loans. They're paying. You want good repeat business that just pays every month and never calls you.
Those 5% of the loans make you do 80+% of the work.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
To your point, on our true private loans, we're really lending our own capital, not BlackRock or something of that nature. We are talking to the people. I went to do somebody this morning on site. You want people to put together whole sentences and have real thoughts. That's your first judgment, right? Everyone can fill out a drop-down menu form.
Exactly.
That doesn't make them a good borrower.
Yeah. I just like old school, you can't eyeball a form. Like when someone's like, oh, I got a pre-approval from Rocket Mortgage. I'm like, did you talk to anyone? They're like, no, I just clicked some buttons. I'm like, oh, so you could just put your income at whatever you want? Right. Well, yeah, I could have, but I didn't. I told the truth. Oh, okay. That's good then.
People are watching Instagram and applying for all these business lines of credit all over America, 0% credit cards. And I'm sure they're all telling you exactly what they really earn, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's ridiculous, but
yeah,
it's real.
Yeah.
You got to balance that out. I can tell you for myself, two biggest problems I've run into in my career, really bad partners, not vetting people properly, and over leverage because it was
for sure
easy to get, right? I felt like I was a rock star for a while and then the music stopped and oh my God. So, we're trying to help people understand that better before they dive in. And
yeah,
I feel like that's important. No, I don't feel like it. I'm sure that's important. The worst beats of my career have been with bad people, not necessarily bad real estate. The bad real estate's a math example, right? You can make the math at some point take you out of it. But when you're with the wrong people, sometimes you could have really long-term repercussions and you need to stay away from that.
Yeah.
Alter your direction for a long, long time. So, we're trying to make people conscious of that. And again, we've been talking about like one of the themes of all the things we're talking about is keeping it simple and keeping it direct and being honest, right? Because in today's world, there's a lot of stages. And is everybody really honest? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, in general, no, it's hard to tell because I think they're putting on a facade for a lot of different reasons. But I mean, that's why you need to get in person so you can see and, go one-to-one. If you don't have experience with people or you got into COVID and then you never got back out, and started talking to people again, yeah, you're going to be a little bit you're probably going to make some bad deals. So.
Yeah, I feel like that's really important. People, almost everybody has a car, right? One way or another. They'll spend so much time getting armed to the teeth to go to the car dealership to fight all day for $9 a month.
Yeah.
But, like, Jonathan told me it was a good deal, so I spent $400 on the house.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's
Good point.
crazy. People come to us and like the deal's falling apart. And, well, okay, how'd you get into this? Well, the realtor said in this area, like, did you not like? I'm not blaming the realtor because it's your money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they can be at fault, but also there's a plenty of user error. People get people come to you, they're like hopped up, they watched a video, they're ready to invest like all the money that they have, but they don't really know what they're doing. And yeah, that's why it is important when you're a lender, you don't want to be on the hook because like you said, though, that 5% will take up all the time where you just you do almost all of your time is spent trying not to have that 5%.
Correct.
Because they suck. They just ruin everything.
Miserable part of your existence.
It's like if you have a 100-unit apartment building and then you just pick that 5%, the bad tenants will take up all your time. Exactly the same thing.
For us, to your point, that's so important, right? Because I know this sounds horrible, but I don't necessarily want you to be successful. I need you to be successful. That's different. Want and need is two different things.
Yeah.
You have my money in your hand. I need you to be successful. I would have bought the property myself. I didn't need your help, right? I know the wholesalers. I know right? But that's not what we're doing. So we want to help people. Sometimes we tell them, look, I don't think that's really a deal. I know you might have a $2,500, $3,500 hard deposit, but I'm telling you, you're going to lose a lot more money than that right now. And these are the three reasons why. Now, if you can go do more due diligence and find out I'm wrong, God bless you. But I'm just telling you from 30 years and 5,000 transactions that this one looks like one I've seen. And this didn't go so well for me. So you please go take an extra look and make sure you really nail those comps and make sure those are real sales, not transfers. We really need you to be successful, and we want you to also. Obviously, we do better when you do better.
Yeah.
Business grows, relationships. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have some people. I think the oldest long-term borrower I have is 18 years.
Oh, wow.
We just closed a loan yesterday for someone who's closed 33 times with us. I have another guy
awesome.
36 times in 3 years with us. So, doing the right thing, which sometimes means having a tough conversation, is important.
Yeah,
People
I agree.
respect that. Like, they're mad for 90 days, but then they kind of get over it when they realize you might have been right. Or you open their eyes to something to help them save some money by avoiding a problem. That's really what we're doing. We're not geniuses by any means, and we don't know everything. But
we're saving ourselves the headache for later. Like, we just know better, so be mad for whatever it is. You'll figure it out later, or you'll get that loan with someone else and you'll regret it.
Right, which is what happens a lot.
Oh, of course, because someone's going to give them the loan.
It feels that way. Unfortunately, there's so many people out there that want to make money no matter what, and they just want to earn that fee for the closing. They don't care about the repercussions. It's horrible, but it's true.
No, same for real estate agents. There's a lot with commission breath. Because they need the money. Integrity sometimes gets mixed up with what you have to do. But like we're saying, if you just do the human thing the whole time, your long-term trajectory is going to be a lot better, and your relationships will be better.
One of my best friends has a pretty easy time raising money privately. The real reason is because he's one of the most honest and honorable people you could ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
That's how people react to him. It's no shock that he can raise private capital. He doesn't spend the time fighting over 11% versus 10 versus 12.
Exactly.
He's talking to them. He's showing them what he's done in his career professionally, what he's done as a parent, what he's done in running a household, what he's done in running a business, and some real estate investing.
Yeah.
Most people are surprised that they spend less time asking about his real estate investing and more time about how he's conducting his life so they can get to know him.
Yeah.
Then it works. It's a big part of the magic, and people overlook that. It's a shame. They don't look at themselves enough, and they don't look at themselves as a balance sheet, right? Because it's a little awkward and weird to think of yourself that way. But you're walking in a room. How do you want to be viewed? Well, trust, honesty, like they kind of go hand in hand, and one leads the other. And without it, you can't do anything. If you don't have trust in the market, you could be a superstar, but no one's going to play with you. So, you win once or twice, and then you can't figure out how to find a deal. So you have to pay attention to that. And I tell them all the time, So I know you watched a lot of guys take a lot of shortcuts, and I wasn't always the nicest guy in the world. But you can see how people react to you every time you walk into a room now, and when you're in these conversations. And I couldn't be prouder than to have you as my best friend. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's incredible when we meet people. I always say, well, you're going to love him, but you'll like me, but you'll love him.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's funny.
So at BRRRR Loans, who is your ideal customer? Like, who's your ideal borrower? Who are you lending to the most? Is it people who are doing BRRRRs, or are they doing flips as well, or is it kind of everything?
We're doing a lot of everything, a lot of new construction too, in particular.
Yeah.
A lot of new construction. Our business, say to about 2022, when interest rates were really low, was about 85% everybody refining these properties, taking cash out and going on in the BRRRR method. That's true. We're BRRRR.com. It's very simple to figure it out.
Yeah.
Somewhere around 22, as rates, really rocketed quickly, the markets took a breath for about 6 months. And then fix and flip and new construction started to really guide the path. And our business went down to probably like 50-50, which was shocking to our own credit lines. Like, whoa, what happened? Where are you going? But our volume net went up because those deals were bigger dollar volume. That was pretty good for us. We did a few less loans and we did more dollar volume. So that changed. We're really looking for people that are rational, calm, well thought out. I know it sounds silly, can fill out an application such that you can read it if they wrote it, or fill it out correctly so that it includes all the details. I mean, it's very simple things. We ask people tough questions like their name, social security numbers, date of birth, the property address, not just your own home address.
Yeah.
How many people, in the beginning you laugh, but fill out the address the same in both places. Like, well, wait a minute, we need some help.
Yeah.
Look, you want to help them with that, put together that package simply and help them prepare. Give them a few questions to make sure they ask any lender they're going to deal with anywhere. There's always a couple things to make sure of, comparing term sheets across the board. Because, look, we've all been trained to think that 10 is less than 12, right? But if you look at the other expenses, sometimes 12 is less than 10.
Yeah.
We
Good
need
point.
to explain and show people how to look at these term sheets so they can see that for themselves. It's not me telling you that. The only thing that's not going to ever lie to you in your whole life is math, right? So I know, and most people hate it, but let's just slow down a little. This is really simple math. Let's give you 4 or 5 things to look for on a term sheet so that you can compare apples to apples. We can't win all the deals, but I don't see somebody else get ripped off when I think our deal is really competitive and they're telling me someone else is really cheap. It's like, hold on, man, come here. I know what I'm charging.
Yeah, let me see those origination points.
Let's see what's going on.
Calculate that. Yeah,
right.
But a lot of times, look, honestly, people don't know. We've seen people swap lenders, and then they get like $7,500 at closing. They're like, "What's that from?" It's like, you signed up for it. We told you not to do that. I have a question for you. I was thinking about this. I wouldn't say are all the best customers, but aren't some of your best customers who want money people who don't, quote, need the money because they have more financial backing and maybe they're a little more savvy in the game. They're learning how to use positive leverage instead of like needing leverage to get by.
The straightforward answer is yes.
Yeah.
We have like a 760, 780 club. Generally, not always, but generally people with 760 and plus credit scores are pretty organized. They have good credit, obviously, but sometimes those scores are misleading. It's just not using a lot of credit. So you have to look at what's going on. We have a lot of people that call me, I got an 806, an 813. Generally, that just means you're not using a lot of credit.
Yeah. 800 and above is really hard.
People who are active in the industry, who really understand what's going on, their credit scores tend to be from 720 to 780. And depending on where you catch them on job cycles, it could be anywhere in between.
Yeah, or just like mine will go down just because I bought more stuff in 1 month, or like I paid off something big for one of my kids. It's like, a 12,000 difference. You could go down 20 points. And then the next month they're like, oh, hey, great job. And you're like, I'm just doing the same shit that I always do.
I didn't do anything different. I just closed out and paid off.
Yeah, it's paid off every month. Yeah.
One of our guys literally spends over $1 million a year at Home Depot. And depending on where I catch him in a month, it could easily vary 50 points. But his payments have never changed. They're all perfect.
Yeah.
We got to be sensitive to that. If he's fixing and flipping or new construction, it doesn't matter much, right? As long as it's above 680, 700, the scores and rates are all the same.
Yeah.
But if he's doing a 30-year note we want to help him in this cycle to make sure we're giving him the best rates possible. He's a good customer. Look, but we understand he just took down $100,000 worth of product at Home Depot, and now his cards got hit on the 18th of the month.
Right.
You need to be sensitive to that and wait for the cycle. So we're definitely paying attention to that. Look, we find it easier to work with that. That's much simpler. They also tend to hang out with people who look like themselves, so the referrals are great. We were just talking about that this morning. We did something in Washington, D.C., and one of their friends called us up, and I asked the question, and sure enough, they're like 783 right behind them. No shock. I mean, that's who they go to dinner with. That's who they hang out with. That's who they go to Home Depot with to talk and strategize on how they're going to do things. So, yes, we're seeing more of that. We are trying to emphasize and highlight with people all the time, look, always be working to build your credit.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking that. I was going to ask you. Yeah, go ahead.
It affects life insurance costs, car insurance costs, health insurance. Like, people don't realize that those things are tied together. They're always like, really? You sure? I'm sure. Believe it. I'm doing this a long time, and I've wasted a lot of money when my scores weren't good enough, right? I came out of the crash in 08 through 10, and I used to carry the first page of my credit report around because, truthfully, most people wouldn't believe me. I was like 475, 483, and I think I had a 514.
Wow. Yeah.
And it took me about 10 years to get to 720. So, I would carry it to remind myself of what not to do anymore, right? Because I had 120% leverage on some properties. I was that guy, right? It was all free and easy and it was flowing, and then the music just stopped dead.
I think that's a tale as old as time for real estate investing. It's like, and a lot of people, I was a cash investor because my dad was a cash investor. So I was fortunate that I still have never been over leveraged just because I use leverage now, but I didn't really know about it. So like, lucky for me. And then even when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, as an adult, I was like, leverage is starting to make more sense. There's positive and negative leverage. But yeah, sometimes when you're going hot, you think you can't lose in real estate. Things are so hot, it's never going to go down. But when it goes down, if you're in certain markets, like, you're in trouble, especially if you're clustered with all the properties in the same market.
For me, I didn't realize how much exposure I had to the third shift at Walmart and the third shift in a big supermarket chain. And that economy just died in upstate New York. And they just shut the third shifts down.
Yeah.
500 people just couldn't pay rent, all of a sudden, like literally in 1 month.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was no way to keep up. I don't care who you are. I ran out of money in 6 months, moving it around, Peter to pay Paul, all the cliches.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was my own bad due diligence, not understanding where my tenants were coming from. So to pay more attention and try to balance it a little more. I was so excited that I could build properties so quickly,
and
bring tenants in so quickly who were paying rent. They all had jobs. They showed me their W-2s at work, but I didn't really connect that those W-2s were so similar and consistent over and over. Like, it's hard to miss Walmart stamp, but truthfully, because I was just so excited. And we try to make people more aware of what's happening nowadays. And, I want people to learn from my mistakes and pain. I don't want them to repeat that. So that's part of the whole training when we're working with people, is to try to make them more aware of different things.
Yeah. I mean, I really think that's what this podcast is out there for, and all podcasts, really. It's like, you don't have to make the mistakes that all of us have made. Like, we're opening ourselves up. You come on here, you tell them like, hey, this is what I did wrong. I always talk about the things that I did wrong. Every guest has something that they did. We're telling you so you don't do it yourself. Right. You don't have to. Just learn from us who've done the mistakes.
I tell people all the time, they'll hear the story like, wow, that's $4.2 million. Oh my God. But this isn't a contest in how much pain you can take. Right? Look, if you're in the right room with some old time real estate investors, they're going to be able to swap some really ugly stories.
Yeah.
But this isn't like, let's project it on the newer generation and make sure they go through it too. No, we're trying to minimize that pain for them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll miss out on what could have been in the rearview mirror a great opportunity. That's true. That is true. But I don't really want to lay out $1 million just so I can tell everybody I made $100,000 on a flip anymore.
Yeah.
I don't like the math. So people are always like, well, you do like really simple deals. Yes, because I used to do really hard ones and it got me this haircut.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Mendham in New Jersey, but I lived in Essex County for a long time, and so like I used to flip a decent amount, but now I can't. I say on a lot of podcasts, like I'll bid on a flip here and I'll come in seventh, and like my numbers are correct, so I'm like seventh. There's six other people who bid that much higher, like, and they're probably on hard money because these aren't like builder properties, like these are flippers. So I'm like, somebody's bidding 6x, not necessarily six times what I bid, but they're six rungs higher, and they're probably on a 12-2, like at the bottom. Some could be even more.
Yeah, they're paying 11-2 or 12-2. Yeah, I want somebody to lend me 100%. I know you have no room. The first time a screw goes higher in cost, you're losing money.
Yeah.
The person's just going to do the work by themselves. I know, but doesn't their time count for anything? They're using their own money. Okay, they could invest their money in a T-bill at 4% with no risk. Like, doesn't it mean anything? And I'm always amazed at how people calculate the profitability of their own deal and how much they leave out of the expense side, right?
Oh, astronomical. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. That's what must be really frustrating as a lender. It's like, hey, did you look at the mechanicals? Like the furnace is out. That's $8,500. Like, like, oh, wait, it needs a new, it does need a new roof. Oh, okay. That's $9,000, like.
Funny, like the roof example.
Yeah.
Someone will say to me, oh yeah, it only costs this. I'm like, dude, we keep people employed all year doing this. And I've done literally a few hundred roofs. You can't get it that cheap because I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not
right. I know what things cost. I'd say the same thing. People say, oh no, that's $4,000. I'm like, that's not $4,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe 8,000, not 4,000.
Yeah. I don't know where people get it. Well, as we wrap this up, Joel, let me get your opinion on this. In all your years of lending, if somebody now wants to become like the most lendable and the best presentation to somebody like you for whatever kind of loan they want, but generally something where they're going to be active, they're either going to do a flip or a BRRRR, what should they be working on? We already talked like work on your credit all the time. That's going to be important, but shouldn't they be organized? I mean, the presentation up front, even if you're starting with a form, matters, as you were saying before.
This is what I would suggest. Totally counter to what an individual lender would normally tell you. One, you always need two lenders. Can't survive in your business on one. You don't ever put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
You need two. Secondly, call up 5 and get all the documents they require before you have a deal. Well, the lender doesn't want to waste it. You're going to find lenders who are going to spend time to begin the process of building a relationship, and they'll provide you what's required.
Yeah.
Now you know what it looks like. So to your point, now you can get organized.
Right,
you can
exactly.
Be prepared.
Have it ready.
Right? I know this, we're two guys here talking, but it's amazing how much more organized most of the women are that we deal with than the men.
Yeah, it's not even a question.
Yeah. I mean, we have Maria in Texas. Maria, here's the 8 things we need. It comes back.
I know, like 20 minutes.
We just had to set the new record in Ohio. 2 hours and 14 minutes, she was done with the whole needs list.
Yeah, I love people like that. And I agree. It's always 80% women. Men are just slower.
People say, oh, it's not luck. They're prepared.
Yeah.
It goes better. People say, well, I don't have that much experience as a flipper. Okay. You're a single divorced mom for a while. Okay. What have you been specializing in? Budgeting.
Exactly.
Scheduling,
yeah.
Right.
Making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to, when they're supposed to.
Making sure the kids aren't fighting with each other, i.e. having
electrician, plumber.
Guys, right, having the mechanical guys in the house at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Fighting with each other, right?
Yeah.
You can apply a lot of your life skills to this. It's just nobody like me has ever slowed down enough with you to make that obvious to you so you can be more confident what you're doing with this.
Yeah.
We have one woman, her mentorship group we work with is a lot of single professional women, and they are rock stars. Like 7 or 8 out of 10 of her students are really good, and we love working with them. They're super organized. They are very transparent. They communicate very well.
I think they take advice well. Like if you say, hey, if you do this, that'll look better. And then 10 minutes later, it's done. You're like, wow,
100%.
Yeah. It's interesting.
They take the suggestions to heart. They actually hear them. And most of their sentences are used with and, not but.
Yeah.
And I heard you, Jonathan, not but, Jonathan, which means I didn't listen to you for a second, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you're seeing that subtly. And to your earlier question, you're sort of building your better book of borrowers out of that. And
Yeah.
they're leading the way, not you, which is great.
Yeah. Awesome, Joel. Is the best place for people to get in touch with you guys at BRRRR.com, and that's B, then 4Rs.com.
That's the easiest place. We don't use the bots. We actually do call you, right? We don't. I don't like the bot thing. It drives me nuts.
Me neither. The worst. Yeah.
We make sure either I or someone else in the office. We have 12 people here. We'll make sure they call. We've had our first experiment with remote virtual. We have one person virtual. So, we're learning too, and it's a process, and we just try to get better at it all the time.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed the conversations. Back-to-back New Yorker shows, just great. People got to like that straightforward attitude. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having us, and we'll look forward to seeing you down the road.
Yeah, appreciate it. That was Joel Kraut. He's the co-founder and managing director of BRRRR Loans, and that's B4Rs.com. I'm Jonathan Greene. We'll see you next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of who's coming up on episode 309 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. My guest is Greg Trotter. He's the founder and CEO of Commercial Building Consultants. Now, we're talking redefining the standards of commercial real estate services, and that means asset management, consulting, due diligence, and we talk a lot about due diligence in the multifamily and commercial process, what you need to look for, what people are missing, where the errors can occur, and why it's so important. Next episode with Greg. See you there.